All right, guys. So Josh Uche, drafted in the second round in the 2020 draft by New England out of Michigan. He is going to turn 28 years old in September this year, so he'll basically play the entire next season at 28. He's 6'1", 240 pounds. Played last year with Philly. In Philly, played 9 games, 244 snaps, 142 were pass rush snaps. Finished with 1 sack, 21 hurries, 15 tackles, and 2 tackles for loss. Now, his best season came in 2022 with New England. He had 285 pass rush snaps, finished with 12 sacks, 41 hurries, and 2 forced fumbles. So, obviously, a big drop off there, and he really has not had a year even remotely close to that 12 sack year in 22. But I think what people need to understand about that was that he was playing opposite Matthew Judon. And this is like Judon, finishing with like double digit sacks, going to the Pro Bowl every year and being like, dominant. This is why I got paid Matthew Judon. So, he's getting the slide protections, he's getting the help, the chips, and all that kind of stuff. And that's leaving Ooch, one on one. And he's a problem for a lot of tackles, man. Um, it shows up on tape. It's very obvious that this is a dude that is very athletic, very explosive. He is all kinds of twitched up, wants to win with speed and he can get you outside and dip the shoulder. He can knife in between, two players inside, and get skinny through there. Like he's stronger and a little more powerful than you would probably think. He's got 33 and 5/8 inch arms, and those show up on tape. Like he definitely gets to tackles, before they get to him as far as like with the hands, and it allows him to win in another way. He can go speed to power. And again, that's when if he does that, then he gets the hands on, the tackle first, and he can knock tackles back pretty good, like into the backfield. And, that's, doing a good job of collapsing the pocket, from the edge. I think I was pleasantly surprised in his run defense. Over the course of the last 2 years, they are his highest graded years as far as a run defender. So I think, maybe with time here, he's developing into more of a full-time player, even though, again, you still are like, you want the sack numbers, you want the production from this guy. I think he's kind of showing that he's a little bit more than just a, third down and long speed rusher. That's it. I think that would be doing him a disservice to call him that. Even though, I think like, that's kind of what he's been to this point. But I think if you watch the tape again, you'll kind of come away surprised. Like there's not a whole lot of like bad losses in the run game. In fact, he did a pretty good job of kind of setting the edge and most of the reps that I saw. Made a couple plays in the backfield. He took on some blockers. In like a split zone action. I was pleasantly surprised. So I kind of hope that that's what Miami's getting more of. Because right now they're kind of in the market for more of a full-time player than they are just a situational pass rusher. Now, the other thing that he does well as a pass rusher that I find, fun to watch is like he's very good at like hesitation moves and like tempoing his pass rush, where he'll kind of like start out slow and then his feet will hit the ground after like a hop, and he'll just burst, and it's like they're almost like receiver moves where like a receiver is like setting up like a slant, and that's kind of how he treats it. And again, whether he's cutting and slashing inside or using like that kind of move and getting outside and then using his long arms to keep his body clean. It's again he's definitely not just a one trick pony. So I like him. I like him, man. I'm very intrigued by kind of what he can be this year. Now I think his best work comes from when he is like pass rusher number 2 and doesn't have all the attention on him. And right now Miami doesn't necessarily have a top notch like pass rusher. They're looking for that. So again, I'm hoping Miami can maybe find one, in the draft and that can have like a Jared Verse kind of, effect where right away, early on, they're very impactful. They have to pay attention to him. And again, I think that would give Uche, his best opportunity as far as getting back to those big sack numbers. But if we don't, and it's kind of like a, room and a pass rush by committee, and he's thrown in there with Chop, and David Ajabo and whoever else they decide to bring in, I still do think that they can be disruptive and have an effect on the game. There's multiple times where, he's rushing quarterbacks, getting them off their spot and, creating havoc. So very excited to have this dude be a Dolphin.